The largest bill you're probably ever going to have in retirement is taxes. So understanding not only how to lower your taxes, but what's deductible and not deductible is critical to a successful retirement. If you've ever wondered what part of your pension is taxable or not, then stay tuned for this FERS Federal Fact Check. Hi, I'm Micah Shilanski with Plan Your Federal Retirement, and welcome to this FERS Federal Fact Check. There's a few things that we need to talk about when it comes to retirement planning, and one of them is always taxes. We got to know and understand how our pension works, but we really got to know how taxes are going to work and how it affects our pension, and that's Pamela's question today. So Pamela writes in and says, my husband retired in May at the age of 65 with over 20 years of federal service with the FBI. We kept our health, vision, and dental insurance, which are deducted from his annuity, his pension. Are these premiums deductible on our yearly taxes? I did read the deductions are made post-tax. Well, good job, Pamela, for looking into that. And you're 100% correct. So a couple things change from working to retired with regards to your health insurance. Number one, with your health insurance, it is paid with post-tax dollars when we're retired. It's paid with pre-tax dollars when working. It's an extra working benefit you get. So unfortunately, those health insurance premiums do come out after taxes. They're really not deductible unless he has some way of being self-employed. Then under some areas of self-employed, you could look at potentially deducting some of that health insurance premium that you have. Now, long-term care insurance may be deductible if you itemize your taxes, but right now it's a pretty large bar for people to get over, or $28,000 and change for an itemized deduction. And so most people aren't kind of at that level. It could be a potential for you though. So let's understand a little bit on kind of how taxes work and dive in a little bit to our pension, what's taxable and not. The first thing that we need to understand whenever we're thinking about taxes is our tax buckets. Now, we have 4 different types of tax buckets. The first tax bucket we have is called ordinary income. Now, ordinary income is the worst type of tax to pay because it's the highest. Anywhere between 0 to over 37% of our income is subject to ordinary income taxes. So what is ordinary income tax? Well, it's your paycheck that comes on a W-2. It's going to be your retirement check that comes on a 1099-R. It also could be a TSP comes on a 1099-R. It's probably going to be Social Security. Up to 85% of your Social Security may be subject to taxes. And most federal employees, all of their Social Security, well, 85% of it is subject to taxes. It could also be dividends. It could also be interest. It could also be a rental. Should have made the box a little bigger. She could also be a rental property that's there. So one of the things in our tax planning, if we don't like ordinary income, our next stop along the way is our tax-deferred bucket. Tax-deferred bucket is fantastic. This is everyone's favorite investment tool, the TSP, right? You get to put money in your TSP every single paycheck while you're working, and I get a tax deduction for that if you put it in pre-tax. This could also be an IRA account. This could also be a 401k account. All of those types of things are in a tax-deferred status. Now, what does tax-deferred mean? It means we're deferring the taxes for the future. So when do you got to pay those taxes? When you pull money out. When we pull money out of the TSP, when we get retired and we put it into our income and we spend it, it's now taxed at ordinary income, which is the worst type of tax to pay. So we got to look at our 2 other tax buckets we have in order to look at our tax planning. We have our capital gains bucket. Now, capital gains is pretty fantastic. It's normally between 0 and 15%. Could be a little higher depending on your income. There's some cases it's closer to 25%, normally between 0 and 15%. This is an example of a long-term capital gain. That's if you buy a stock outside of a retirement account or an investment, you hold it for more than a year and you sell it, the gain that you make is subject to long-term capital gains, right? Which is mainly 15%. And that's going to be a lot less than your ordinary income is going to be. So it's a great way to do it. This could also be selling a rental property, right? Not the income that comes in. The income is that you get in the rent income is subject to ordinary income. But if you sell the property, it could be subject to long-term capital gains. Few other options in here as well. Those are the most basic. And that brings us to our last bucket, which happens to be my favorite bucket. This is our tax-free bucket. Can you even say that without smiling? I can't. Tax-free, right? It's a great thing. And this is where you pay 0% taxes. Now, several examples again out here on this one. The simplest example is a Roth, whether that is a Roth TSP or a Roth IRA. I'll put Roth down here as well, make sure we're on the same page. Those are all examples of tax-free investments. So that means we put money in after taxes. So I made my TSP contribution after taxes, which is fantastic. But anything it grows to is 100% tax-free, assuming I meet some of the rules to pull this money out. So you might be thinking, this is Micah, this is a great presentation on taxes. What does this have to do with health insurance and your premiums, etc.? It's about planning purposes, right? As Pamela found out, you really can't deduct your health insurance in retirement. So all of a sudden you got an additional income. Well, you don't actually have that income. You got to pay for that health insurance, but you have phantom income you got to pay taxes on. So that tax bill can creep up a little bit. We got to know about those things so we can be proactive in our tax planning. And when we sit down and look at it, it says, okay, the things we can control, we can't control whether the pension's taxable or not, but you can control whether your TSP is taxable or not. Have you done Roth conversions? Have you done TSP Roth funding, right? These things we can control. So we got to look out there and says, what are the things that are going to happen outside of our control, but what are the things inside? What are the levers we get to pull in our tax planning to help compensate for that and get you guys on the right track? If you've ever wondered about how does tax planning really fit with a federal employee because your situation is unique, then make sure you're jumping on our website, planyourfederalretirement.com. You can schedule a call with myself or one of the other great advisors on our team to really understand what your tax bill is going to be in the future. Until next time, happy planning.